Yvonne continues to mourn and blames Patrick for what happened. Javi upends the boys' plan to blame Yvonne, and Issa is out for serious revenge against Hugo. Hello, entertainment enthusiasts. This is Ray, and this is the Fandom Realm. And today, I am recapping and reviewing episodes 5 and 6 of Season 6 of Elite. As always, these are spoilers, so just be aware. Now, the first episode I'm reviewing today is episode 5 called Mourning, and it's going to start at the club as Javi is getting cold feet and isn't sure whether he wants to be part of the guys' plot against Yvonne. Javi finally does and speaks to Issa about Yvonne, claiming that he and Philippe were involved in the rape as well. Javi blames the whole rape on Yvonne and Philippe because they got the party started. Issa is disgusted as she hears that Yvonne, in particular, was the one who goaded all of them to rape her, which causes Issa to distance herself from Yvonne, explaining why she did not show up at Cruz's funeral. Now, it has been several weeks since Cruz's funeral, and Sarah is still living with Mencia. She is having difficulty sleeping and is unsure how to handle her situation with Raul. Mencia advises Sarah to wait until she is thinking more clearly before making any decisions about contacting Raul. Issa is focusing on her work at the club, which is doing extremely well financially. Didak's brother, Pal, unexpectedly arrives and plans to move to town. Didak suggests that they hold a memorial service for Cruz at the club to help Patrick and Yvonne, who are struggling with the aftermath of Cruz's death. Yvonne refuses to go to school and will not remove any of Cruz's belongings, causing tension between the two of them. Eventually, Patrick speaks to Yvonne and at least manages to get him to attend class, although the situation between the two is still precarious. Javi begins to have doubts about the plan to blame Yvonne and Philippe for Issa's rape, but Hugo and Alex threaten to place all the blame on Javi instead. Pal advises Didak to support Javi due to their long-standing friendship and tries to convince Javi to see things their way. Didak speaks to Javi at school and urges him to resolve the problems he has caused between Issa and Yvonne. Later that evening, Javi keeps his promise to Didak and admits the truth to Issa. He leaves a message for her explaining that Yvonne was not involved in the rape. Issa feels guilty and goes to Yvonne's house to apologize. She tells him that he is her best friend and promises not to abandon him again. Moving on, Raul goes to see Sarah at school, but Mencia is there to confront him. She hands Sarah her phone, which is already dialing 911, and Raul dismisses Mencia's actions, saying that Sarah is being controlled by Mencia. Raul then starts a live stream video from his house, promising to be a better person and a better boyfriend for Sarah. Sarah finds it difficult to decide what to do, but ultimately decides to stay with Raul. When Mencia finds out, she tries to talk Sarah out of it, but Sarah believes that Mencia is the controlling one and refuses to listen. Mencia becomes frustrated, and Sarah shuts the door in her face. Finally, we are going to get a scene with Nico as he makes a deal with Alex and Hugo. He sees them looking at themselves in the mirror, wanting to get bigger, and his father has refused to pay for his sex change surgery until he finishes school. So Nico offers to help the boys build muscles in exchange for money to buy hormones that will accelerate the muscle building process. Yvonne decides to go to the memorial service for Cruz at Issa's club. During the event, he gives a speech about the struggles Cruz faced and how he did not deserve to die. Yvonne is determined to live his life to the fullest, but becomes emotional while giving the speech. Patrick is prevented from intervening, and Yvonne continues to cry. After the event, Yvonne has sex with Ari in the bathroom, and Patrick discovers them together when they leave the stall. Patrick is devastated by Yvonne's betrayal. As the episode ends, Yvonne leaves while we cut forward in time and see Patrick waiting nervously at the hospital. After the hit and run, it seems Yvonne is still alive, but he's not in good shape. Now, that was episode 5 of season 6, and now we're going to recap episode 6, which is called Tina. In the beginning of episode 6, there is a brief flash forward of Eri dousing a car with gasoline, suggesting that she may be responsible for something. The scene then shifts to the present, where Eri goes to see Sebastian. He has a trial date and needs the students to testify on his behalf, but Mencia and Patrick are resistant to that. Eventually, Yvonne is going to decide to go through Cruz's gear, and instead of focusing on the job at hand, he's going to end up on a dating app and is encouraged to get involved in a chemsex party, which is getting basically drugged out of your mind and having as much sex as possible. The gig apparently is taking place at Yvonne's, and it ends up seeing Patrick at the house and involved as well. He is shocked to see that Yvonne is there and completely drugged up and high. The pair begin kissing until Yvonne realizes that it's Patrick and stops. He cusses him out and forces Patrick out the door, blaming him for Cruz's death. Nico becomes the go-to performance-enhancing drug dealer at school. Issa makes a deal with Nico to purchase some high-quality drugs to use against Hugo in exchange for enough money to pay for Nico's sex change surgery. Although the drugs could cause significant harm, they could make him infertile, actually castrate him. Nico agrees to the deal because of the high price of the sex change surgery, and Issa is offering to pay for it all. Raul continues to control Sarah, uploading videos to social media to gain likes and announcing that they are together even when they are not. He agrees to Sarah's rules after deleting the video, but it's clear that it is a temporary solution. Despite Raul's controlling behavior, Sarah has sex with him in the bathtub and agrees to go on a date with him that night. Before the date, Sarah tries to reconcile with Mencia by offering her a drink and the opportunity to talk things out. Sarah tells Mencia about how much Raul has changed, but Mencia warns Sarah that abusers do not change overnight. Later, when Sarah returns home, Raul becomes angry that she is late for their date and starts pounding on the table. Sarah takes out her phone and starts recording Raul, which causes him to leave before the situation becomes even more violent. Now we're going to actually get to see Rosia here. She lives in a large mansion, and Bilal goes to visit her after she left her bag at Issa's club. They're going to spend some time together, getting to know each other, and eventually they're going to kiss. Now, after chatting with Nico and sleeping with Nico and building some courage to do the right thing, Eri heads into prison to confront her father. She tells Sebastian that he let Samuel die, and she hopes he finds peace behind bars. As for the situation involving Hugo, Issa wants revenge, and in the last scenes, we see him injecting drugs into his leg. Now, before I move on to the thoughts and reactions, I did want to just add something to the recap for both episodes 5 and 6, and that was, I just wanted to point out another big happening in here is we finally got some information about Samuel, and basically, they're going to find, led by Patrick, they're going to find Samuel's gravesite and give that information to Ari. And then in episode 6, Ari actually goes and visits Samuel's gravesite. And this is meant to be closure for her. And of course, I still wish they would explain how he ended up dying, because like everybody probably left at the end of last season, everyone assumed he was alive. And so it would have been nice to get an explanation for that, but it doesn't look like that's going to happen. But I overlooked that and didn't add it in my episode 5 information. And so I wanted to add that. Now, that does it for the recap of episodes 5 and 6. And it's a little shorter, I know, and that's partially because I wanted to have just a few minutes extra to go over some thoughts and some reactions to what happened and still keep this video relatively short. And also, I want to just hit a few things about characters because our next video will actually cover episodes 7 and 8, which will cover the finale. So we're getting close to the end of Elite Season 6 here, and I just want to throw a few things out there. Now, probably one of the biggest things that has jumped out to me this season, or at least in the last few episodes, and surrounding a lot of this Yvonne talk and the accusation that was going to be made about him being responsible for the rape, and the fact that Issa just so quickly believed what Javi was saying originally and what the other guys were saying. And she's been this person who doesn't jump to conclusions very easily. But for this, I mean, it's almost like she believed them without any proof whatsoever. And so I'm not sure, maybe that's because it was something that happened directly to her. I'm not sure that it was something that was actually just written out of character for her, but it's something that really stood out to me. Along with Issa, I'm going to be honest with you, I'm not real sure how much I like this revenge plot. I'm very much an eye for an eye type person when it comes to things like this. But, you know, tattooing two of the guys was creative. I'm not sure how much I'm going to like this idea of basically chemically castrating somebody. And part of that is it's going to come back potentially and hurt a lot of other people, not just Hugo. First off, you know, if they trace it back to Isadora, she's going to have some major issues there. But if they trace it back to her, they can trace it back to Nico and possibly Nico's dad as well and his practice. And that's going to cause a lot of issues for Nico. And I have a hard time believing that even all this revenge she wants, that she is so willing to put these other people out there at risk. I know Nico is sort of putting the risk out there himself, but you know, you would think just the way she's acted, that wouldn't be something she would want to do. Now, I don't have a lot to say on this, but I continue to basically say Didac is probably my favorite character so far this season, especially among the new characters. I like that he is sort of the peacemaker. He is sort of level-headed. He's the one that I sort of expect if his character returns in season 7, that they'll try to corrupt him somehow. He is sort of playing that character, the rather good guy. He's not corruptible, sort of like Samuel was in the first 5 seasons. And so really like Didac, really like that he was finally able to get Javi to fess up to Issa about Yvonne, and so I'm glad that is over. But this goes back also to that whole idea of Issa's revenge plot. I know they were playing it up that those recordings could not be used in court, but now that Javi is sort of on Issa's side, I would have thought there would be some type of way they could figure out to put at least Hugo behind bars for a long time. He's a dirtbag, and without putting Issa and Nico and others at the risk that they are putting them. That brings me to, of course, Nico now. And I'm going to tell you, I really liked originally his character. Didac has sort of grown above him for me, but with Nico, there's just a lot going on there with the character. And, you know, I felt like the character was supposed to be very innocent, but now he is doing, basically he's being a drug dealer. He is going to help basically assault a fellow student by giving them drugs. And it just seems like all this is out of character for him a little bit. And this whole idea of his dad wanting him to wait until he turned 18 to get the remainder of the sex change operation, I don't think that's necessarily a bad idea by his dad. And maybe they needed to communicate all this a little bit better. But then there's Ari, and Ari is just causing trouble. I hate her so much, but she has caused all kinds of trouble for everyone. She's already made Nico uncomfortable and turned him into something that he isn't. She has slept with Yvonne, who was her brother's boyfriend, and she just used to be all over the place. And I don't mind her being a bad girl, but she's just, I don't know, I don't like the way she's written very much. Okay, also the relationship with Raul and Sarah and Mencia and what's going on with that group. I'm going to be honest, I just haven't gotten into this very much. Mencia is not one of my more favorite characters. They're playing into a lot of the stereotypes and tropes that go into domestic abuse, and I sort of wish they would have actually saved maybe this domestic abuse storyline for next season. I don't really like the fact that we're seeing the aftermath of Issa's rape, and then we're seeing this domestic abuse Timecodes line in there, and it's sort of getting away from killing somebody, okay, and any type of investigation. And I think that's what I'm sort of missing in this season so far. And now, last but not least, it's on to Yvonne and Patrick, and I'm going to be interested to see where this goes the next 2 episodes. I've sort of been a little disappointed with where they've taken the relationship. After last season, I was really expecting a lot, and they've really pulled back on that some, and I'm a little disappointed. And I'm not sure if other folks out there have heard this at this point, but it looks like the actor who is playing Patrick is not planning on coming back for season 7. And I'm not really sure how they're going to explain that, but that sort of makes me sad. I like this relationship. I like the character of Patrick, and I'm going to be disappointed that he's apparently not going to be in season 7. But, you know, we've all been wondering since Cruz's death why Yvonne was giving Patrick such a cold shoulder and wasn't really treating him really well. And of course, now we know. Of course, Yvonne goes to this sex party where he gets high and just basically has all kinds of sex. And Patrick's going to find him. They're going to start to hook up. And then that ends because Yvonne is just mad at him, and he tells him that he blames him for his dad's death because of what went on social media, and he felt that it forced his dad to come out, and in the end, that's what got him killed. And so it really makes you think, can these two really get back together? And of course, we're left with that entire question as we see Patrick at Yvonne's bedside and not knowing what's going to end up happening. Now, I hope everyone has enjoyed this recap and review and some thoughts I've thrown in there for you. I do want to give this episode or these 2 episodes a quick grade, and that grade is going to be a B-. I thought they were fine. They were a little above average. I don't think they're in a high B range or anything like that. I don't think Elite has been in that A range for a very long time, but I enjoyed both of these episodes. I like enough of the characters that I enjoyed watching, and I look forward to watching and keeping up with the story. So to me, I'm going to go with the B-, although some of the issues I've already talked about. And we'll just have to see where things go for episodes 7 and 8, which will be out hopefully in the next couple weeks. And with that, please subscribe to the channel, like the video, and comment below. And I'll see you next time on the Fandom Realm.